Greetings, good morning, and welcome to Mind the Moment, brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Health Care. This, my friends, is our coffee house in the cloud, a place where we invite amazing mindfulness instructors to talk with us about what mindfulness means to them, and what it can mean for you. We'll be practicing together and then giving you a chance to let us know what's on your mind. I'm John Roberts, and it is Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020, which here in the United States is celebrated as National Sandwich Day. Just kidding, it's election day. And on such a day as today, when it feels like my head might fall off my neck at any instant, I am incredibly grateful to be here and minding the moment with none other than Jess Morey, founder and former executive director of Inward Bound Mindfulness Education, aka IBME, a leadership coach, and a teacher of mindfulness to individuals at all stages of their lives. Good morning to you, Jess.
Good morning, John. It's just so wonderful to be here with you.
Thank you for joining us. Now, before we get to the meat of this Election Day sandwich, let me start by asking you a question, which I've been asking all of our instructors this season. What's the most important piece of advice you received when you first started meditating?
The most important piece of advice I received was to be gentle. Be gentle with myself the whole way through, from the beginning of the meditation, from when I sat down to when I got up, and also be gentle with myself about how much I meditated, how well I thought I did. So yeah, be gentle.
Very beautiful. Thank you for that. Now, in just a moment, I will be asking Jess to help us regain and retain that all-important feeling of centeredness by leading us through a 10-minute guided meditation. Then we'll talk some more, and for that, we'd love to get you involved. So please do take a moment to open up the chat box, which you can find at the bottom of your screen. Use it to send us any questions that may come to mind, any comments you'd like to share, as a way for us to lay down a nice formation of nouns, verbs, and adjectives in the chat box. Jess, is there anything you'd like to ask the folks at home to chat in about as we're getting started here?
Yeah, so throughout my meditation practice and my life, I found that connecting with my body is a huge resource, both to understand what's happening, to actually check in and see, like, how am I doing right now? And also as a way to ground and soothe and kind of care for myself. So my invitation to everyone is to check in right now and maybe describe in a word or two, what's a sensation that you feel in your body right now?
All right, so what sensations are you feeling in your body? One, two, 3 words. And while folks are thinking and typing, please do know how grateful we are to have you joining us today, as well as each other in our virtual coffee house. Do keep in mind that only Jess and I will be able to see anything that you type. And if we don't have a chance to read your particular question or comment out loud, please know that we do read and value them all. As we close today, which will be right around 9 a.m., I will mention some more ways that you can keep in touch with us too. All right, so here's what we got coming into the chat box. Somebody says they're experiencing chest tightness. Another person, churning stomach. The need to stretch. Adrenaline surges. Someone says they're feeling warm, grounded, and safe.
Yay, Amanda.
So excellent. Somebody is feeling some tension. Somebody else, a tender, open heart. Somebody's feeling tightness, some soreness. Somebody else, calm but excited. Somebody's feeling a feeling of tightness in their back and shoulder area. Somebody says that they're feeling the beating of their heart most prominently, and somebody else has a headache. So, Jess, how are you feeling in your body right now?
I am feeling a sensation that's like in the bottom of my chest. And it's kind of like joy and excitement, maybe also like a little bit of nervous. But I when I see you, John, I feel delight. So I think it's mostly just like delight rising up from my lower chest.
I tend to give that sense of nervousness, yet also delight when I encounter people. So, Jess Morey. Now, before
hey, John, wait. What are you feeling in your body right now?
I am feeling You know, it's a strange feeling, right? Because I feel like a lot of us, because of our spine and how that's oriented, it almost feels like there's like a string that's holding our body this way, right? But I almost feel like the string inside of me is being stretched this way today. And it began when I looked outside and saw people lining up for the polling place across the street, and just knowing that, well, it felt heartwarming, really. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I love election day. This is when I love seeing people going out, standing in the cold at 7 a.m. to go vote. I think it's a great thing. So, all right. So now,
okay.
Before we get into your meditation, Jess Morey, knowing you as I do, I'd be shocked if you weren't already putting in place a few routines or rituals for navigating this day when not only distraction, but a range of emotional states are likely to arise. If I may ask, what are your self-care plans for outliving this difficult day? And can those plans translate into any tips or techniques which our viewers might themselves use?
Yes. So one thing, I started my day and I was just telling John, like I got up pretty early and meditated, and then I danced. So I put on some hip hop pop music and danced for about 5 minutes. And it is unbelievably beneficial to me to do that. So I'm going to try to do some dancing throughout the day, and that can be a 3-minute song. And I seriously, even if you doubt it, just like try it. Pick a song that makes you happy. Just like try it one time today, a 3-minute song, and let yourself move. So that's one self-care routine. The other one is going outside. So it's cold, but it's also sunny and beautiful here in Massachusetts. And I'm going to go outside. And one way that I get myself to do that is I have to walk my compost about 10 minutes to the garden. So I have a very full compost, and I'm going to actually, right after we meet, I'm going to go walk my compost to the garden. So those are two things that, like, getting outside, being in the sun, especially this time of year, and dancing, I think are two things that you can add to your daily routine, and they don't have to be long.
That's awesome. And I feel like I have a full compost mentally, which is a great segue then, I think, to asking you just to, let's meditate. Let's do it.
Great. Okay, so I invite everyone to come into a position that feels comfortable enough for you. If you're really feeling discomfort in your body, or you're feeling really agitated, you can lie down. You can stand if that feels better. So find a position that feels good, decently good in your body. And then if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. And I invite you just to start by taking a few deeper breaths. And as you breathe, you might actually breathe into any places that feel tight, tense, that tightness in the chest or the headache. Being willing to connect to what's uncomfortable. And then on your exhale, just inviting a little softening and release. You might even open your mouth and sigh on your exhale. And as you do that, your shoulders can soften down, maybe your face relaxes. Invite your chest and belly, everything to soften a little bit. And I invite you to feel the contact of your legs or feet or body with the chair, the floor underneath you. Let your weight be heavy, so get a sense of gravity. You can sometimes think of gravity like the earth hugging you. She's holding you close. You can let your attention just become aware for a moment of the earth underneath us. You might even have a sense of letting your awareness drop down into the earth, spreading out in all directions. I'm just feeling if this can be a support, a sense of steadiness and grounding. So you can feel a sense of releasing excess tension or energy down into the earth, like we're composting that unnecessary tension. And then as you inhale, breathing into your body, the vast support and steadiness of the earth. The earth that has seen so much. Take a few minutes just to exhale, release the tension down, inhale, receive. It might just be as simple as just bringing your attention to your feet. Feeling that simple contact with the earth. And I'm going to invite us to shift our attention for the last half of this meditation to what we can take joy in today. So joy, celebration, gratitude. Just take a moment and reflect on anything already today or right in this moment that you can appreciate. One amazing quality about joy is that we can borrow it from others. So if you can't think of anything, you can just reflect on how much joy John feels watching those people online to vote. You might find joy in the sunlight today. You might feel gratitude for all of the people in America who have already voted. Just this record-breaking commitment to democracy that we're experiencing. All those people who care and care deeply. So again, just reflecting on your day, and finding joy or borrowing joy from someone you know. And again, imagining that you're breathing that in. So really savor it. Notice how you feel joy in your body, how you experience that. You might imagine you're like soaking it up to nourish yourself today. Whatever happens, you can find joy. You can savor it. And this can fuel us. Another minute to feel your body, remembering that the ground is always here beneath us. We can always bring our attention down to our feet if we feel overwhelmed. Rely on the earth. And we can always tune our attention to what's okay or what's beautiful in any moment. And sometimes we even have to be firm with ourselves about tuning to grounding and joy. So we might make that aspiration for ourselves today and for whatever the days ahead bring. And just one last piece here to take a moment to feel into the 50 other folks who are here meditating together this morning, starting our day in this way. We can feel a sense of connection and support wherever we all are. Gratitude for each other for showing up. Maybe taking a moment to wish each other well, joy, ease, and grounding today. For all of us sitting here this morning together. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes and just stretch or orient to the space around you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. That was wonderful. If I may, I want to actually ask you about that practice. In the back half of the practice, you're inviting us to connect with feelings of joy. At the very beginning, you mentioned trying to connect with what might feel uncomfortable. Seems to be a little bit of a tension there. I'm curious if you could speak to what is the use value of connecting to what we are experiencing as uncomfortable in our body or mind?
It is so useful, like breakthrough useful to be willing to connect with what's uncomfortable. And I'd say there's two reasons for that. So one is often out of fear of uncomfortable sensations in our bodies, which is how emotions usually show up. So out of fear about unpleasant emotions and sensations, we will numb out or lock down our bodies or dissociate and go into thinking or all the ways that we numb out and dissociate. And when we do that, then we have no possibility of feeling the joy in our bodies. So it cuts us off to the pleasure and the joy as well. And then the second thing is that it's just life. It's just life and information flowing through us. And that fear and shutdown around uncomfortable sensations like cuts off life and information. And the biggest thing that I discover is like, it's like, we do this gently, little by little, step by step. We build our courage and capacity. But it really is kind of like, you know, John, I know you're a new father, and you could just imagine when he's old enough to talk and he's afraid of the monster under the bed or in the closet, you know? And that is like, but you're, you know, how are you going to care for him and help him know that like, it's okay, the monster's probably not there and not going to kill him. It's a really similar situation with these uncomfortable feelings in our bodies. Like we can handle it. They're not going to kill us. And there's a great benefit to being willing to touch them and feel them. So.
Thank you. That is, that's a great analogy. So for the folks watching, I do want to make sure everyone feels welcome and encouraged to ask Jess any questions you may have using the chat box. Jess, somebody actually says something, I think it's worth reading. The viewer says, "Thank you for your beautiful practice this morning, filled with hope. I found myself listening with tears streaming down my face." So while folks are taking a moment to think and type and share, let me ease us along with another question or two of my own. So Jess, like it or not, in a day or two or three or four, something like half of us here in America are going to be living with an outcome that we may not much care for. Mm-hmm. So I have a two-part question for you. What is the mindful way for us to engage with individuals whose preferred candidates did not win in this election if ours did? And relatedly, what is the mindful way for us to engage with individuals whose preferred candidates did win if ours did not?
Yeah. I'll answer the first one first. And I just want to name, in total transparency, I can see a double standard in my own head. But if in the case of, say, my candidate won and their candidate didn't win, I mean, and this would be the case with anyone that we have. It feels like we have super different views about what's best for the country. For me, what's the most helpful here is to like, first of all, be totally honest and feel what I feel. Like, be honest with myself about what I'm experiencing and take care of myself. So any conversation I'm going to have with someone, to be able to show up in that conversation that could be contentious with as much grounding as I can muster. So noticing my reactivity and as much as possible, working with that before I have a conversation. So being clear that, why am I having the conversation? So check in with your intention is the first thing, right? And if where I want to shift my attention is the intention to connect and understand rather than to judge. And this is like the root of our meditation practice with mindfulness. Mindful attention is creating the intention to connect and understand rather than to judge our experience, our thoughts, our feelings, our bodies. And then we take that into a conversation with someone else. So ground yourself, take care of yourself, and then check your intention. And if it's not to understand and connect, then maybe you don't have that conversation, right? So that's step one. And then the second one is like, how can we get curious about what's underlying? So this is where I love nonviolent communication. It's so powerful in this way that like, what you would, in a nonviolent communication paradigm, who someone votes for is a strategy. And it's a strategy that they have to meet a need that they have. And so we all have very different strategies to meet needs, but we all have the same needs. This is the paradigm and view, and I find it to be a beautiful view, that every single human has the same fundamental needs. So if I can connect with, like, get curious about what need does that person feel like they're meeting through the strategy of that candidate, I can, oh yeah, I have that same need. I can have compassion and connection with that need that you have, even if I so strongly disagree with your strategy. So yeah, those are a couple of tips.
That's so you mentioned nonviolent communication. So if folks watching are intrigued to learn more about that, do you have any resources that you would recommend you point people towards?
Yeah, I think the main thing I would, thank you, Nanette. I'm just seeing, I just want to name it. There's a few of my beloved teen alumni who are here with me, so you can send me little messages, who are not teens anymore. Well, one thing that I'd really recommend, there's an amazing book by a teacher named Oren Sofer, who wrote a book called Say What You Mean. And he's a long-term, I've been meditating with him since I was a teenager. So we've been long-term meditation buddies. And he wrote a book on nonviolent communication and mindfulness and how they come together. So that would be my top resource, is Oren Sofer and his book called Say What You Mean. It's a great resource to start learning about nonviolent communication.
Great. And just in case folks didn't know this, Jess, you still teach teen retreats, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some of my friends here are old as teens. They're like, it's like my I don't know what you call them, my nieces and nephews. But they're like, Nanette just graduated, and Jenna is like a full-blown professional. So it brings me so much joy to see them.
So, Jess, unfortunately, we don't have a ton of time, but let me ask you this question, and we'll see if we can squeeze this one in. Is there any advice that you can offer us from the mindfulness literature on the subject of living through dark or difficult times? Any advice that perhaps you yourself find yourself falling back on in those moments you may personally regard as dark or difficult?
Yeah, and so actually this is what's awesome about the mindfulness literature and the teachings. So a lot of that is sourced from Buddhism and the Buddha. And it was taught for difficult times. That's what he was teaching for. That was the point. Like if you know the Four Noble Truths, the first noble truth is there is suffering. Like things happen that we don't like. Things happen that we don't want. I lose things that I like. I lose things that I want. I can't control reality. Like that's what the Buddha was saying. Number one, you can't control reality. Things happen that you don't like. And then from that is the whole teaching, which includes the mindfulness practice that we do. So it was to answer that challenge that we all face, that we can't control things, that things happen that we don't like or want. So this is like the perfect tool set and practice to be using right now. And then the other thing that really comes to mind for me is there's this story in the suttas of where the loving kindness meditation came from, like when it was first taught. So that's that loving kindness of like, may I be happy, may you be happy. There were some monks who were, during the rainy season, they went off to the woods. They would all go to the woods and find a little place to meditate. And these two monks found some woods that the spirits of those woods were not happy that they were there. And so these spirits, was also this great moment to think about this, would show up in these like ghoulish, terrifying images and noises. And like, we're basically trying to terrify these monks so that they would leave because they wanted their woods back to themselves. So the monks left, freaked out, ran back to the Buddha and said, we can't meditate in that wood because these ghouls and terrible spirits are showing up and terrifying us. So the Buddha taught them loving kindness meditation. And he said, go back to the woods and just do loving kindness and just emanate, feel loving kindness yourself and emanate it out in all directions. And then that's what's going to work. And so then these ghouls and spirits fell in love with the monks. And as the story goes, then they started protecting them. And so like there's, when it would rain, they'd protect them with leaves. And so basically protected their meditation. They had a beautiful and perfect environment, and they probably got enlightened by the end.
So I think that's our charge for the next few days, is to emanate loving kindness, whether we like it or not, I suppose. But this is the part I always hate. I always cry at endings. But Mind the Moment will be back with you every Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. What's more, do you want more Morey? More Jess Morey? If so, then I am pleased to inform you that Jess will be returning as our guest for this Thursday session so that we have the opportunity to look at things from both sides. Now, if you have any questions for Jess that you'd like us to load up in the hopper for Thursday's program, please send them to askmtm@harvardpilgrim.org, or feel free to leave me a voicemail at 509-7047. Or you can simply drop those questions in the chat box before we sign off, and we will record them. Now, if you want a super easy way to add the links to these sessions to your iCal or Outlook calendar, look no further than harvardpilgrim.org/livingwellatHome. While you're there, please make note of the other free live and virtual wellness sessions which Harvard Pilgrim offers for the public. Those include yoga classes, Zumba classes, and health and wellness webinars for adults and kids alike. Now, all of us do face moments of pain in our lives, but how we deal with pain can make a huge difference in the quality of our lives. Please check out the free resources around mindfulness and pain management, which we're offering through a partnership with our friends at Mindful Magazine. Those resources can be found at mindful.org/pain. Now, you can join us on Facebook for conversation and inspiration, and hopefully not disinformation. That's facebook.com/mindthemoment. And you can rewatch this session, older sessions, introductory sessions, and interviews which we conducted with leading mindfulness researchers on our YouTube page, youtube.com/mindthemoment. If you'd like to see the last time Jess Morey joined us, that was season 1, episode 7. Now, if I may offer a closing word from Carl Sagan, who said, quote, "It is essential for the people to understand the risks and benefits of government, to educate themselves, and involve themselves in the political process. Without that, the wolves will take over," end quote. So, Jess, I'd love to thank you for helping keep the wolves in my own mind at bay this morning. Some folks in the chat box are wondering where they can find your personal resources. Where can they locate you online if they want to know just more?
Yeah, so if you want to find me, I'll just put it in the chat right now. I do have a website that's sometimes up to date. It's jessicamorey.org. So there's recordings and different meditations that I have there, and then courses on teaching and retreats. And then if you're interested in the teen meditation work, check out ibme.com. And there are some programs for adults there too.
This .com, not .org?
Yeah, it's .com.
Okay. All right.
We've been trying to get .org for years. It is a nonprofit, but yeah.
Okay. So one more thing, Jess Morey, if you had a theme song for your mindfulness practice this week, maybe it's what you'll be dancing to later, what would that be?
Gosh, now I'm not totally positive. Probably something about Feel the Love. You know, it's probably going to be something by Michael Franti, a positive, uplifting, positive hip hop.
All right. Cool.
Rap about love. Yeah.
So I think I'm going to go with Move On Up by Curtis Mayfield. But I think that'll be a good playlist. So thank you again, Jess. Thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you on Thursday. Go vote and have a momentous day.